The Enterprise arrives over a colony that sent out a distress signal but isn't answering hails. Sensors show no signs of life. We have to wonder how good those sensors are, considering that they seem to have missed a big frickin' hole in the ground. Even Data doesn't seem to be so sure, checking his tricorder with it as if to make sure it's there. Commander Shelby and Admiral Hansen are here to find out if this is the work of the Borg, introduced back in Q Who. The Borg, not these two. They looked kind of like a cross between Jacques Cousteau and a kabuki dancer. The actor who plays the Admiral was actually in Star Trek V in the role of God, or as he's known around here, Yosemite God, on account of the strange decision to make him go, ooh! In fact, I can hear him doing it right now. Ooh, I hate them Borg! Shelby's doing a lot of good work identifying issues related to the Borg, and after she leaves, Hansen admits that he likes to think about her while tugging the little Admiral. And I can understand why that might be on his mind, though, because despite going with the Season 3 outfits for the characters, created partially because of back issues, but also because the skin-tight Season 1 and 2 outfits were a bit unforgiving if you had an extra donut or two. But Shelby's outfit isn't in the jacket style like the men here have, but is made to be skin-tight despite that. Even though, if Hansen was wearing his godbeard, he'd look like Santa Claus right now. You know, between Gene's sexual obsessions, you should have heard some of the background information on the Ferengi, Berman's interest in showing voluptuous breasts on the show, and Robert Blackman's belief that the costume should create an ideal feminine figure, I'm convinced in-universe that there's a sign at Starfleet Academy saying, no fat chicks. Anyway, Hansen recommends Shelby for first officer, revealing that Riker has been offered a captain's chair again, on the Melbourne this time, and suggests that Picard give him a kick in the ass since Riker has turned into the Starfleet equivalent of the 40-year-old virgin. Well, Riker and Shelby are both soon at each other's throats, him cheesed off that she's so ambitious, her upset because he's blocking her career plans. You eventually just want to tell them to oil up and start humping already. Picard's a bit distracted from this, what with the possible collapse of the Federation and potential extinction of the human race. He doesn't seem to care all that much about their rivalry. Guess he just has a warped sense of priorities. They chase down and eventually find the cube, which is like saying you've covered yourself in chum and you've now found the shark. Probably time to rethink your recent decisions. Picard then tells the Borg that they have all these new technologies to resist them, even though the Borg live for taking new technologies. So it's basically like then telling the shark, you don't want to eat me, I'm tender and well marbled. So they want to assimilate him personally, which will set the stage for how the Borg will operate. Previous comments by Q were made implying that the Borg had no interest in assimilating beings, but that'll be ignored from here on out. We could spackle over it if we need to, but there's enough stuff to cover without needing to get into a nerd fight. So after a brief fight that shows just how this new technology isn't all that great, they decide running away is the better part of valor and hide in a nebula. It gives them a chance to repair the ship, but also to analyze what happened, and shows a sign of Borg vulnerability. Shelby also wants to separate the saucer section, but Riker doesn't want the episode to go over budget, so he shoots that down. Instead, she goes to Picard behind his back, infuriating Riker, even when Picard goes along with him for now and leaves hers as the fallback plan if things get desperate. Speaking of desperation, the Borg are dropping space depth charges into the nebula, so Enterprise is going to have to run out of there. Their shields are then battered down and Picard gets captured, and Riker's now in charge of the pursuit, which heads towards Earth. If they can get the ship to stop, then they can use their Omega cannon or whatever it is to destroy it, but as Riker is now senior-most officer, once again he's got to defer to Shelby to handle things. What's worse is that it's Troy that tells him he's got to do that, meaning he's just been slapped back down by someone whose greatest brush with combat is telling Worf to stop flicking his fingernail clippings into her cleavage. So Shelby, Data, Worf, and Crusher beam over to stop them and rescue Picard, but the Borg are waiting. Luckily, they are able to outwit the Borg by exploiting a hidden flaw in their security, their inability to give a damn. It's like the world's worst office here. And how exactly am I supposed to deal with this, huh? I need to go to level 2487 because somebody didn't change the coffee filter again. Leave it to the guy with the tube arm. I'm sure the tube arm guy can handle it. Jerks. Our crew decides to shoot some power distribution nodes, which stops the cube and gets the Borg upset. That's when they finally spot Picard, transformed into a Borg himself. Unable to reach him for the moment, they withdraw to the Enterprise. Everyone wants to try to save Picard, but the Borg are showing signs of being ready to leave, and they may not get another chance with their weapon. Picard, now Locutus of Borg, tells them that it's over, that they will now serve the Borg. And so Riker says to fire that shit, leading us into part 2. The episode has 2 plots to it, the most obvious being the threat of the Borg. It drives the action and hangs over events so that few scenes take place where they are not in some way influencing events. But those other scenes, the B plot, they're about character. You might think that would be Picard's character, since after all, it's his ship that's on the line. They are Earth's first line of defense, the most experience. And historically, this episode is a game changer for Picard's character. However, there's not a whole lot dedicated to him specifically. The character plot is actually about Riker and his career problems. Which I know sounds absurd. Yes, the end of all life as we know it, but what about my problems? As he says, he looks at Shelby and sees the way that he used to be. And it bothers him that not only is she pushing against him, but pushing in a way that a few years ago he would have been. She even joins the poker game and calls Riker's bluff, thus literally beating him at his own game. He should be the expert on the Borg, after all. He was the first human they knew to walk the decks of a Borg ship, the one who wrote the reports on what the Borg were capable of. But everyone turned to Shelby. Shelby had all the answers. And no one believed that more than she did. Then throw in the Melbourne, leaving all that he's built here behind, but to get what he's so ready for. Even Picard is ready to push him out the door right now. This might all seem unimportant, but it is vital, because it adds to the weight of what is to come. Riker struggles with both his frustrations and with his own indecisions, safe in the position of having Picard in the big chair while he can safely sweat over those things. The moment that Picard vanishes, though, Riker has to be ready to put all of that aside. No time for impatience, no time for doubt. He has to be firm and decisive, and most importantly, be the rock that the rest of the crew can rely upon. It was all to lead to the final moment of the episode when Riker said, "Mr. Worf, fire." Every scene in the episode, without exception, had built toward that single line, to make clear how huge a threat that the Borg are, how vital it was to stop them here, and how Riker was prepared to do exactly that without a second's hesitation, no matter the personal loss that he would feel by that. The episode is where everything comes together creatively as well. Writing, directing, acting, music, all of it. It creates a perfect atmosphere, and is part of what helps to give the Borg their mystique. They are the subservience of the individual to the whole, so taking precedence that all are mere cogs in the system, and anything that exists is merely a raw material to them to be consumed without consideration of consequence. In their wake, worlds are quite literally strip-mined. The Borg don't come to conquer, they come to consume. They don't come threatening, they come explaining, as surely as if laying out a logical proof. We are the Borg. You will be assimilated. Resistance is futile. Few episodes could challenge their use of the Borg as a relentless, unfeeling force. Awards time. We have Deus Vex Machina. Battle the God Machine by finding ways to annoy it. Best music. Episodes like this show just how much a good episode can become great, and a great one become a classic, thanks to proper music. Replace your divot. This is one big damn hole the Borg have left here. And of course, cliffhanger. That's our show. Next time, the conclusion.